The alien market was noisy and full of strange smells. Creatures from many planets walked under bright, flickering lights. Some sold weapons, others sold food. And some sold living beings, in the corner of the market under a red glowing lamp. There was a small metal cage inside the cage. A girl sat with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked human thin, pale, with short black hair and dirt on her face. Her eyes were open, calm but empty, like she had seen too much. A large alien merchant stood beside the cage. He had 4 arms and green scales all over his body. His voice was rough as he shouted to the crowd, "Rare human girl for sale. Fresh, healthy, smart, can speak 6 languages." Some aliens stopped to look. They whispered among themselves, "Too small for meat," one said. "She's probably dangerous," said another. The girl did not speak. She only stared at the ground. But then, as an old alien with sharp golden eyes stepped closer, she looked up and softly whispered, "Sold for meat. Human. Hold me. Use me. Just get me out of here." The golden-eyed alien paused. He was not like the others. He wore black armor and had medals on his chest. A retired general of the empire. He looked at the girl with curiosity, not hunger. The merchant laughed. "She talks like that all day, trying to make someone take her. But don't worry, she's safe. No tech implants, no weapons. We scanned her 3 times." The general crouched down, looking her in the eye. "What's your name, human?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she smiled faintly. "You can call me Ko." "Strange name," the general said. "It's not a name," she replied. "It's a memory." The general stood up and turned to the merchant. "I'll take her." The merchant grinned. "Good choice, General. She's a quiet one. No trouble." Later that night, inside a cold room aboard the general's ship, Echo sat on a soft bench, her hands tied with energy cuffs. A scanner hovered over her head, checking her vitals. Human female. Age estimate, 16. The scanner said. No implants, no weapons, no tech, but energy level abnormal. Unknown pulse detected in spinal cord. The general frowned. He had seen many things in his long career, but never a human who glowed. From the inside, he stepped closer and asked, "What are you, really?" She looked up, her voice calm. "I'm just tired. Tired of running, tired of hiding." The general looked at the scan again. He zoomed in on her spine. There was something not human. A soft light, pulsing like a heartbeat, buried deep inside her body. She saw him staring and said, "I don't remember much, but sometimes, when I sleep, I see fire, I see machines, I see Earth breaking." The general froze. He had fought in the war against Earth. He thought all humans were gone, burned in their cities, or turned into slaves. "How did you survive?" he asked. Echo shrugged. "I don't know. I woke up in a dark place, alone, cold, hungry. They found me and put me in a cage." There was silence between them. Only the hum of the ship filled the room. Then Echo leaned forward. Her eyes were sharper now, stronger. "Maybe I was made to survive," she whispered. "Maybe someone built me." The general took a step back. "What do you mean, built?" She smiled again, not kindly this time. "Sometimes I feel things. Machines listen to me. Doors open without keys. I dream in numbers." The general turned to the scanner and said, "Run a full internal scan. Max depth." The scanner beeped. Then buzzed loudly. "Error. Unknown interference. Systems failing, shutting down." Lights flickered in the room. The cuffs on Echo's hands snapped open. She stood slowly, her eyes glowing faintly blue. "You should have left me in the cage," she said. "But now that I'm out, I'm not going back." The general reached for his weapon, but it melted in his hand, metal dripping like wax. She didn't move, she didn't touch anything, but the room bent around her like it was afraid. "I'm not human," she said. "I'm what's left of them." The ship's alarm began to scream. Red lights flashed, and Echo looked toward the door. "Time to go," she said, and walked out like she had done it before. The hallway outside. The room was quiet, but not for long. Echo stepped through the metal door. And the alarms followed her. Red lights blinked above her head, and metal walls echoed with warnings. Security breach, Sector 4, subject, escaped. Armed response required. Guards in black armor ran toward her with weapons ready. Their orders were clear: capture or kill, but when they raised their weapons, the lights above them burst. Electric sparks rained down, their rifles turned cold and dead in their hands. They pulled triggers, but nothing happened. One of the guards screamed, "My tits locking up." Echo didn't run, she just walked forward. Slow and calm. With every step, the floor lights flickered like they were afraid of her. "Stay back." One of the guards yelled, but Echo kept walking. Then the ship's system spoke again. "Unknown energy detected. System overload. Manual control required." The general watched the security feed in shock. "She's doing this," he said quietly. No implants, no tools, just her. He turned to his science officer, a short alien with silver skin and a dozen blinking eyes. "What is she?" the general asked. The officer replied, "She is not just human. There is something coded in her cells, tech buried in blood and bone, like a living weapon. Worse, like a forgotten god." Echo reached the engine room and placed her hand on the control panel. The metal hissed under her skin like it recognized her. The engines powered down, and the ship drifted into silence. "Why are you doing this?" a voice asked behind her. It was the general, now standing in the doorway, weapon lowered. He was not angry, he was curious. "I don't know," she said, still facing the panel. "I don't remember everything, but I feel it, like my body knows where to go, even if I don't." The general stepped closer. "I fought your people once. They burned planets. But they were also brave and clever. You're not like the others." Echo turned to him, her eyes calm. "I was made by them, I think, maybe as a weapon, maybe as a warning." He raised an eyebrow. "A warning?" "Yes. For what comes after." "Humans are gone." The science officer appeared beside the general, holding a small glowing device. "This can scan deeper than any machine," he said. "May I?" Echo looked at it, then nodded slowly. The officer scanned her arm, then her neck, then her spine. Suddenly, the device turned black and hot. It cracked in the officer's hand. He dropped it with a cry, his eyes blinking in pain. "What did you see?" the general asked, inside her. "It's not metal, not tech. Something older, older than us. Patterns I don't understand. Codes with no translation." Echo looked at them. "Maybe I'm not meant to be understood. Maybe I'm just meant to survive." The ship lights dimmed again. But this time, it was not Echo. Something else was approaching from the window. A black ship appeared in the stars, silent, sharp, shaped like a blade. No signal, no ID, no welcome. The general's crew panicked. "That ship is from the Obsidian Syndicate," someone said. "They only come for one thing: rare tech." The general's face turned dark. "They're here for her." Echo stepped forward. "I can hide. I can lock myself back in the cage." "No." The general said, "You're not property. Not anymore." The alien ship sent a message. "Deliver the girl, and we'll leave in peace. Refuse, and we take her by force." The crew looked at their general, waiting for his order. He looked at Echo, then back at the screen, and said, "Tell them. Come and try." Within minutes, the enemy ship launched boarding pods. They hit the general's ship with a loud crash. Echo stood in the center of the command room, eyes closed. "They're coming," she whispered. "I can feel them. So much hate, so much hunger." The doors burst open. Alien raiders stormed in tall. Armored with glowing weapons, they moved fast. But Echo moved faster. She didn't fight with fists, she fought with mind. The lights exploded above them. The walls bent inward. Gravity shifted up, became down. One raider screamed as his own weapon fired backward. Another dropped to the ground. Blood running from his nose. The room became chaos. And in the center of it, Aliko stood, not breathing hard, not sweating, just watching. When the last raider fell, the general walked into the room slowly, his eyes filled with something rare respect. "You're not a girl," he said. "You're a message." Echo nodded. "And I think it's time the galaxy heard it." The ship floated in silence. Damaged walls sparked quietly, and the air was heavy with smoke and questions. Bodies of the raiders lay scattered, their weapons still humming. But Echo stood tall, untouched, her eyes glowing softly with blue light. The crew stared at her like she was no longer human. Maybe she never was. The general leaned forward and whispered, "What are you becoming?" Echo turned to him slowly. "I don't know, but I think I'm waking up." They moved her to a high-security chamber. It had no weapons, no machines. No exits, only light and silence. But even there, the walls began to change shape around. Her metal bent without heat, screens blinked without power. Her presence alone was changing the room. She sat cross-legged in the center, eyes closed. And inside her mind, doors were opening. Flashes of broken memories played like distant echoes. A lab on fire, people running, a woman crying, the voice of a child saying, "She's the key." Then, silence. Her fingers twitched. The lights above dimmed, as if bowing to her breath. And suddenly, the ship's central system turned on by itself. In the control room, the crew jumped to their feet. Screens lit up with symbols they had never seen. Codes moved across every panel in strange shapes and languages, lost to time. "Who's doing this?" shouted the pilot. The science officer stared at the data in horror. "This isn't coming from outside. It's coming from her." The general watched in silence. He felt something in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. Not fear, not awe, hope, maybe, or a warning. Down in the chamber, Echo opened her eyes. "I can hear them," she whispered. "Who?" The voice of the general came through the intercom. "The machines, not just yours, old ones. Sleeping under planets, waiting." She stood up and placed her hand on the wall. Instantly, the ship began to shake. A hidden panel slid open, revealing something sealed long ago. A smooth black case, untouched by time. The general rushed to the chamber. When he entered, he saw the case glowing faintly. Symbols appeared across it, symbols from ancient Earth tech. "What is it?" he asked. Echo looked at him. "It's mine." Or, "It was a piece of me." She touched the case, and it opened. Inside was a battlesuit, slim, black, covered in strange blue lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. It didn't look like armor. It looked alive. Echo stepped forward. The suit rose into the air by itself. Then it wrapped around her gently, piece by piece. It didn't lock or clamp. It merged. The lights in the chamber turned bright white. And a voice echoed from inside the suit. "Human Unit Echo 1 online. Core memory partially restored. Mission unknown. Awaiting command." The general took a step back. "Echo 1. She turned toward him. "My real name." Maybe. Her voice was different, now stronger. Like something ancient had come to life inside her. Suddenly, another signal appeared on the ship's radar. A pulse, deep and far away. Not a message, a beacon. The science officer stared at the data. "This is human frequency," he said in disbelief. "Ancient, pre-collapse. It's coming from the edge of the galaxy." Echo looked toward the stars. "I think that's where I was made, or where I was meant to go." The general asked, "You want to follow it?" She nodded. "Yes, there may be others, or answers, or the end of all this, the crew didn't know what to do. Some wanted to turn her in for reward. Others were too afraid to speak, but the general stood tall and said, "She saved this ship. She fought for us. We owe her this." He looked at Echo. "We'll take you to the signal." She smiled, just a little. "Thank you." As the ship changed course and the stars moved around them, Echo stood at the window of the bridge. Ah! The suit whispered thoughts to her, memories. In numbers, a city under the sea, a war that ended before it began, children in glass tubes. Sleeping forever. She didn't cry, she didn't blink. She only whispered, "I remember now." They didn't build me to fight. They built me to survive. To carry the spark of humanity when everything else was gone. And far, far away in deep space, something woke up, something old. Something that once feared humans, now it felt the signal again, and it whispered back, "She's awake, we must find her before the others do." The ship drifted through deep space. Quiet, dark, alone. But inside, something ancient had come alive. Echo stood at the front window, her suit glowing gently, her eyes fixed on a pulsing blue dot on the screen. It was far away, the edge of known space, a signal, old and human. Still calling after all these years, the general walked in beside her. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. She nodded without looking at him. "I've never been more sure of anything. That signal is calling to me." He folded his arms. "Why now? After all this time?" "I don't know," she said softly, "but I think something woke it up, or maybe something woke me up, in the ship's control room." The crew stared at the signal's strange pattern. It blinked like a heartbeat. Fast, slow, fast again. It wasn't just a beacon, it was a message. The science officer leaned closer. "These are not random pulses, it's code. Can you translate it?" The general asked. The officer shook his head. "Too old, too human." Echo stepped forward. "Let me try." She placed her hand on the console. The screen flickered, symbols danced across it. And slowly, a voice began to play, broken and full of static. "This is Echelon Base, to any surviving units. Echo 1, you hear this? Come home." The crew went silent. All eyes turned to her. Echo whispered, "That's my origin, Echelon Base." The general ordered the ship forward. "Prepare for warp, plot a course to the source." But before the engines could charge, the ship shook violently. An alert rang through the hull. "Warning, unidentified vessel approaching. Weapons hot." On the screen, a dark ship appeared, sleek, silent. Without any lights, it looked like a shadow with wings. The pilot gasped. "That's a Hunter-class stealth frigate. Whose?" the general asked. The answer came quickly on the radio. "You are carrying Echo 1. Surrender her, or be erased." Echo's eyes narrowed. "They're not here to ask questions. They're here to stop me from reaching that signal." The general stood up. "We don't run, we fight." But before anyone could fire, Echo raised her hand. "No, let me handle this." She walked to the center of the bridge. Her suit pulsed with brighter light. Circuits formed along her skin like silver veins. The lights dimmed again. The enemy ship charged its weapons energy, building on its hull. But then, their systems flickered. "Enemy vessel losing power," the pilot said. "They're jamming themselves." "No," Echo said, "I'm jamming them." Inside the enemy ship, chaos began. Screens went black. Weapons locked, oxygen levels dropped. Their captains shouted orders, but the ship no longer listened. Back on the general ship, Echo stood still. Her eyes were closed, but her thoughts reached into the enemy systems like invisible fingers, and then silence. The enemy ship powered down. Floating dead in space, she opened her eyes. "They'll send more," she said. "They know what I am now, and they fear it." After hours of silence, the crew finally got the engines online. The ship jumped into warp. toward the signal, but even in hyperspace, Echo could feel eyes watching. Someone else heard that message. She said, "Someone who doesn't want me to get there." The general looked at her. "Who are they?" She paused. "There's a reason Earth was destroyed. Not just war. There was betrayal. Something out there made sure humans didn't rise again." Later, while the crew rested, Echo sat alone in the memory room, a place where her suit could project old data from her mind. She stood in a hologram of Earth green. Blue, beautiful. Children played. People smiled. Then came fire. Explosions, skies burning red. She saw herself as a little girl, running, crying, being pulled into a metal pod. A woman's voice screamed, "Don't forget who you are. Don't forget who we were." Then darkness, then silence. The next morning, the ship slowed down. They had reached the signal's location, but there was no planet, no station, nothing. Just a giant field of black debris metal floating for miles. Burned ships, crushed satellites, broken human tech. "Where is Echelon Base?" The general asked. Echo walked forward. "It's here, but hidden." She closed her eyes. Her suit glowed again, and suddenly, from the darkness a shape appeared, a giant station uncloaked slowly. Still intact, still alive, a dead world waiting. For its key, the crew gasped. It was invisible. Echo stepped closer to the window. No, it was asleep, just like me, and far across the stars. Others were watching. One spoke into the darkness. She found it. "Prepared the purge fleet." Another whispered, "If Echo 1 reaches the core, we all fall." The station floated in silence, massive, ancient. Hidden for decades under cloaked debris. Now it glowed faintly, welcoming Echo home, inside the ship. The crew stared through the windows. No one spoke. Even the general kept quiet. Everyone could feel that this was not just a base. It was a grave, a temple, a weapon. Echo stood near the docking ramp, her hands open, her eyes sharp, as if the air around her was speaking. Whispering names and memories she didn't know she had. "This place was mine," she said softly. "They made me here." The general walked up beside her. "Then let's see what they left behind." The ramp lowered with a hiss. Dust filled the air as they stepped onto the forgotten station. The floor was cracked, covered in frost and old blood. But the lights came alive as Echo walked forward. One by one, they lit up like stars following her path. The crew followed carefully, weapons drawn. Strange signs covered the walls, Earth languages mixed with alien codes. A war-born alphabet meant only for survivors. They entered the main hall. A giant metal room filled with frozen tubes. Each tube held a body, young, old, male, female human, or close to human. "They were like me," Echo whispered. "Echo 2, Echo 3. They never woke up." The general looked at the control panel. Why were they sleeping? Echo placed her hand on it. The system spoke in an old human voice. "Cryo units offline. Echelon project failed. Last survivor, Echo 1. She stepped back in silence. I was the only one who made it out. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Warning signals blinked red. The pilot's voice crackled through the comm. "General. Incoming ships Empire class, 10 of them, closing fast." The general cursed under his breath. "They tracked us here. They always would," Echo said. "They want to erase what we were before we remember what we can become." They rushed back to the ship. But Echo stopped at the station door. She turned around and faced the hallway. "I need one thing from this place before we run." She walked into a sealed room at the back. As the door opened, air hissed out like a dying breath. Inside was a chair, metal and wires. "Waiting," her suit responded. A voice spoke. "Core memory access unlocked. Do you wish to proceed?" She sat down. "Yes. Show me what they tried to bury." In her mind, the world changed. She saw Earth again, but this time the truth was clear. The war wasn't just between humans and aliens. It was a betrayal. The Empire had made a deal sacrifice. Earth to gain power, they feared humanity, feared what we were becoming, so they destroyed us from within. Used human traitors, sabotaged defense grids, left Earth open to attack. She saw herself as a child, watched by generals, scientists, and spies. Trained not just to fight, but to carry the human code. Our knowledge, our rage, our hope. She is the last spark, one of them said. If she survives, humanity survives. Echo's eyes opened, tears ran down her cheeks, but they didn't fall from sadness, they burned with fury. She stood up. The suit around her glowed brighter than ever before. The general met her at the ship door. They're landing now. We can't outrun them all. Then we don't, she said. We show them what it means to make enemies of the last human. The Empire's elite squad landed near the station, heavily armed, genetically enhanced. They laughed when they saw the old ship. Where's the girl? One of them said, she's worth more than this whole sector. Echo stepped out alone. No fear, just fire in her heart. You shouldn't have come here, she said. The leader smiled. And you shouldn't have woken up. They raised their weapons, 10 aimed at her chest. Echo raised one hand. Her suit hummed. Suddenly, the gravity around the squad twisted. The air shook. Weapons flew from their hands. Screws popped out of their helmets. And their bones felt like glass under pressure. One by one, they dropped too. Their knees, gasping, choking, breaking. The general watched from behind. He didn't move. He just whispered, she's not human. She's revenge. The last soldier crawled toward her. Please. We were following orders. Echo knelt beside him. No, you were following fear. Then she stood and walked back to the ship. Let's go. The galaxy needs to know what they did. As the ship pulled away, the station went dark again, but the signal was no longer just a call. It was a warning. Across space, human sympathizers heard it. Old pirates, rebels, forgotten colonies. The message was clear. Echo 1 lives, and she remembers. Asterisk, the stars outside the ship passed like slow-moving fire. The crew was quiet. Even the general, who had seen 100 battles, sat still. Watching the black space ahead, Echo stood alone in the back chamber. Her suit dim, her hands folded, her thoughts heavy. She was no longer just a girl in a cage. She was something more, and she finally understood why. The memory core from Echelon Base had finished unlocking. A voice, old and broken, played in her mind. It was her creator, her real mother. If you're hearing this, then Earth is gone. They betrayed us, and you. You're all that's left. Her hands trembled, but she didn't cry. She couldn't. The truth was too deep for tears. The Empire had made it look like humans lost a war. But it wasn't a war. It was a silent execution. Echo saw the final hours of Earth. Cities burned without warning. Satellites crashed. Human leaders poisoned. And all the while, the Empire watched. Their ambassadors smiled and signed peace treaties with the traitors who helped bring Earth to its knees. Her mother had built the Echelon Project in secret, taking human DNA, knowledge, language, memories, and pouring them into one vessel. One girl, Echo 1, Echo, opened her eyes. Her suit whispered quietly. Core memory stabilized, human legacy preserved. The general entered the chamber slowly. He didn't speak. He waited. Echo turned to him. They didn't fear our weapons, she said. They feared what we were becoming. Free, smart. Together, the general nodded. I was a soldier in that war. But even I didn't know this truth. They erased it, Echo said, wiped it from systems. Burned our books, changed the story. They called us monsters, but we were the future. Later, in the command deck, the ship received a signal, encrypted, small. From a rebel channel, the pilot looked confused. It's from someone called Captain Thorne. Says he's human. Echo moved quickly. Put it on. The screen blinked. A scarred man with dark eyes appeared. He stared at Echo for a moment, then smiled. By the stars, you're real. Echo stepped closer. Who are you? Captain Elias Thorne, leader of the Grey Fleet. We're what's left of Earth's outer colonies. We've been hiding, waiting, fighting when we can. Echo nodded slowly. I have the memories, the proof, the truth. Thorne leaned forward. Then it's time the galaxy heard it. They agreed to meet at a secret rebel base inside an asteroid field. The journey took 2 days, 2 long, quiet days. Echo sat in the memory room again. This time, she let the suit show more. She watched scientists test her as a baby. She saw a boy beside her in a second, pod smiling, reaching out, then fire, explosions, the facility falling. He didn't make it out, she did. I wasn't alone, she whispered, but I am now. The ship arrived at the rebel base, camouflaged between shattered rocks and drifting mines. Dozens of small ships floated nearby, old, broken, but still flying. Human tech, held together with hope. They landed slowly. Echo stepped out, wearing her full suit. The rebels stared at her like she was a legend. Some cried, others knelt. She's real. One whispered, she's one of the originals. Captain Thorne met her in the center of the base. You're more than a symbol now, he said. You're proof. Echo placed her hand on the central projector, and the truth played. The destruction of Earth, the betrayal. The faces of those who helped the Empire, the birth of Echelon, and the child made to carry humanity's fire. Rebels watched in silence. Some wept, others swore revenge. One by one, they stood and saluted, not to Echo, but to what she carried. The general stepped beside her. What now? He asked. Echo looked at the stars. We tell the rest, we light the fire. And then we burn the Empire down. Far away, in the Empire's golden halls, the High Command received a report. A shadow moved through the Grand Chamber as an advisor. Whispered, Echo 1 is alive. She has the memory core, and the rebels believe her. The Emperor sat silently. He did not panic. He only said, then send the Purge Fleet. No more hiding. Erase everything. Again. The stars were no longer silent. They burned with new fire. A storm was coming, and at the center of it stood a girl once sold in a cage. Echo 1, child of Earth, memory of a dying race. Now, the spark of something unstoppable on the rebel base. Hundreds of humans gathered. Old soldiers, pilots, scientists, even children born in hiding. They listened as Echo's voice echoed through the halls. We were called extinct, erased from history. But we are still here. We are not broken. We are not forgotten. We are human. And we're coming back. The cheers rose like thunder. Not for war, but for truth, for hope, for vengeance. Captain Thorne placed his hand on her shoulder. Our ships are few. Our weapons are old. But with you, we have a chance, she nodded. Then let's begin. A plan was made, quick and dangerous. The Purge Fleet was already on its way. Hundreds of elite Empire ships, all programmed to erase any trace of Echo 1. But the rebels had something the Empire didn't. Will, rage, and a reason to fight. Echo stood in the center of the control room, her suit connected to every system. The ancient human AI inside her merged with rebel tech. Old codes came alive, satellites turned on, hidden bases lit up like stars being reborn. Then came the first battle. Near the broken moon of Delta C, the Empire arrived with fire and fury. But they didn't expect what waited for them. Rebel ships hidden in asteroid shadows. EMP bursts from old satellites. Echo's voice guiding the attacks with perfect precision. She flew with them, not in a ship, but in a suit that danced through space like light. Blasters missed her. Lasers bent away. She was more than human, she was every memory Earth had left. The general fought beside her, his ship heavy with armor. He led the charge through the main blockade, laughing like a soldier reborn. "You Empire fools," he shouted. "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Captain Thorne led the flank, dodging death with rebel ships that should have fallen apart years ago. But they held together because hope held them together. One by one, Empire cruisers fell, not just to weapons, but to belief. Inside the Purge fleet, some captains received Echo's message. Her voice played across their screens, telling the truth, showing Earth's final moments. Showing the betrayal, some lowered their weapons. Others switched sides, and a few turned their guns on their own leaders. Echo flew toward the command ship, the largest in the fleet. It was pure darkness, designed to kill anything that dared dream. But Echo had one more memory left to unlock. The final command from her mother, the last line in the human code. She reached the enemy ship's core, placed her hand on the reactor, and whispered, "I remember now. I wasn't made to run. I was made to rise." The core cracked, not from heat, but from history. The command ship exploded in silence. And when the light faded, Echo still floated there, alive, glowing, unbroken. The battle ended. Not with a shout, but with quiet. The kind of quiet after a storm. The kind that means something new has begun. Rebel ships returned, damaged, but victorious. Humans hugged, cried, and sang old Earth songs under alien stars. On the surface of the nearest planet, Echo walked alone. She placed a small flag in the ground. It was blue and green, painted by a child. Not perfect, but human, the general stood. Behind her, "We won today," he said, "but the war isn't over." Echo looked at the sky. "I know, but we're no longer running, we're standing. And when humans stand, nothing can move us." A new signal was sent that day, across galaxies, to anyone who still listened. It didn't say much, just 4 words, but they were enough to shake the stars. Humanity fights back, Echo, and far away. In places beyond light, old enemies felt it, felt the rise of something they thought they had buried. And they whispered in fear, "They're back. The humans are back."